If man makes himself a worm, he must not complain when he is trodden on. We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. All the interests of my reason, speculative as well as practical, combine in three following questions. What can I know? What ought I to do? What may I hope? Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is an organized life. Live your life as though your every act were to become a universal law. An evil person cannot be happy, for being alone with himself, he remains alone with the villain. Experience without theory is blind, but theory without experience is mere intellectual play. Marriage is the union of two people of different sexes with a view to the mutual possession of each other's sexual attributes for the duration of their lives. The reading of all good books is like a conversation with the finest minds of past centuries. Dare to know. Have the courage to use your own intelligence. He who is cruel to animals becomes hard. Also in his dealings with men, we can judge the heart of a man by his treatment of animals. The busier we are, the more acutely we feel that we live, the more conscious we are of life. All our knowledge begins with the senses, proceeds then to the understanding, and ends with reason. There is nothing higher than reason. A person can become a person only through education. The cheerful expression on his face is gradually reflected in the inner world. Death is most afraid of those people whose life has the greatest value. Character is the ability to act according to principles. The ability to ask reasonable questions is a sign of intelligence and discernment. One looking into a puddle sees dirt in it. The other, stars reflected in it. Give a person everything that he desires, and at that same moment he will feel that this is not everything. The rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. Whoever has given up excesses has gotten rid of hardships. A wise man can change his mind. A fool never. Humanity is the ability to participate in the fate of other people. If you punish a child for what is bad and reward for what is good, then he will do good for the sake of profit. The more habits, the less freedom. It is not thoughts that need to be taught, but thinking. In order not to cheat on the husband, the wife must change, and so that the wife does not cheat, the husband should not change. A person rarely thinks about darkness in the light, about trouble and happiness, and contentment, about suffering, and, conversely, always thinks about light in the darkness, about happiness in the trouble, about prosperity in poverty. He who fearfully cares about how not to lose his life will never rejoice in this life. You should not fear being refuted. You should fear something else, to be incomprehensible. Thinking means talking to yourself. What is beautiful is what you like, regardless of the meaning. Women make even the men more sophisticated. The life of people devoted only to pleasure without a reason and without morality has no value. If a man is hiding his betrayal from you, then he still loves you. Children should be brought up not for the present, but for the future, perhaps a better state of the family.